And I understand that it's an idea that's hard to grasp, right? And that we are skeptical, right? It's like I hear cases. I know that sometimes it works, but I can't quite believe that it will be possible in my case. Let me tell you that none of the people for whom it worked believed it would work in their case. Because it's very hard for us to understand how it can be that this person doesn't see something right in front of their eyes, or why they would value something that for a long time they might not have known how to appreciate. But we have to understand one thing, as I always say. The love we give does not fall on deaf ears. That is to say, there are people who don't want to, but they are allowing themselves to be loved. There are people who don't naturally give. It also depends a lot on the human quality of the person. There are people who are very focused. Well, they are a bit egocentric, focused on themselves, who look a lot after themselves, their needs. Also, sometimes they are people who during stages of their life have felt that they were in the background and have changed their circumstances. And now this leads them to indeed have that need to receive from others. And as if they want to keep everything, they give nothing in return. That is to say, there are times when we are indeed allowing ourselves to be loved by a person. Thank you. We are enjoying receiving someone's attention, receiving affection and support, and we believe that person doesn't matter to us. But this in many cases is a mistake. And here, obviously, we do need to analyze a bit the bond that connects us with the person, because I don't like with this type of video to foster false hopes. And the thing is, it's one thing for this person to be unaware, but we are dealing with a bond that is indeed deep, that does have emotional importance. And that's especially where the person, when they change their perspective, will realize what they were receiving. And it's another thing when we are dealing with a bond that is really quite superficial, not very significant. And it's us who, due to the stage of life we are in, are giving it a lot of importance. For example, let's say a story thinks. It extends over 6 months. Let's compare two stories. In both cases, let's say there are two people who maintain daily communication. In the first case, really, not only is the other person not contributing to me beyond a sort of communicative maintenance, right? I'm here, aren't I? But really, if I stop to analyze, what do I contribute to them? I'm not contributing much to them either. Not because I don't want to, huh? Mind you, Uko, I might feel very much in love with the person and would be willing to give everything, but really the other person doesn't allow me to. That is, there are no conversations where there is openness, where the other person shares with me. As I said, we're no longer talking about the other person being interested in me, wanting to find out and caring about how I'm doing. No, but rather that selfishly, the person who is focused on themselves at least uses me to project their anxieties, their worries, to want my support, to want my advice, to talk egocentrically about themselves, to give themselves that importance, to nourish themselves through the vision of my eyes. That is to say, a person who is not giving us anything can still be receiving a lot from us, right? But in a case where the communication is very, well, for example, we have times when this person says good morning to me almost every day. Then at a certain time, I might ask them how they are, meaning an exchange in which that conversation, if I analyze it coldly and set aside the romantic aspect, this person is not contributing to you because in the end, they are not part of your life, but neither are you to them. The problem is that you are giving because you have started to idealize them. You have developed a feeling, you give weight to their contribution that it doesn't have, and on the other hand, you fantasize a lot. Then time passes and it's like, we've been talking for so long already, but what has really happened between you two? Well, in your mind, a lot. And the neuroplasticity of our brain, unfortunately, is not that good at differentiating. So these stories are quite annoying in the sense that, let's say you say, yes, the other person has allowed themselves to be loved. Well, not even that. The other person has indeed relied on the validation of knowing that you are there. Maybe if it's a person who builds their self-esteem based on how many people they have, well, that's it. Or simply, there are people who feel better if, well, I'm talking to I don't know how many. Often there's not so much malice. Sometimes they just don't give the relationship the weight that you do. They don't see it as that relevant, and they also don't come to believe it could be that relevant to you. That is to say, they are not even aware of the harm that perhaps this exchange of 4 or 5 messages prolonged over those 6 months can lead to you feeling like you've fallen deeply in love with this person and that there could be something. But what happens? In this story, if you leave, there are fewer options. Yes, ego can come into play. It can. But there are fewer chances that over time this person will miss what they no longer have, because what they had, if we're completely honest, isn't much. Now then, let's look at the other situation. Also, two people who communicate and the other doesn't offer a relationship, we don't have anything solid, but as I say, that person unilaterally takes advantage of what we have, the importance it holds for us, to indeed, yes, deepen the connection. Sometimes they are not aware, meaning they are allowing themselves to be loved. But besides allowing themselves to be loved, they are leaning on us, opening up, showing vulnerability. They might not be approaching it from a romantic angle, but it is happening. So there are different types of conversations. There is a different kind of closeness. You get to know the person better. Sometimes that person doesn't know you as well. Because of that, because it crosses their mind that this is something mutual and they should be more interested in you. But you do know what worries them, what they would like to achieve, how they feel, and sometimes you already know their insecurities. That is to say, you are indeed getting to know them better, right? In those cases, when you finally say, look, it's just not worth it for me to keep meeting up, in those cases, people are genuinely surprised. And I repeat, you probably leave thinking, in my case, it won't happen. Because if being there day by day, making an effort to give the best of myself and to be there for that person, for everything, they haven't appreciated me, then once I'm not there, little by little, they will forget. They will get used to being without me. But no, because as I say, the love hasn't fallen on deaf ears. That person hasn't realized everything that I truly brought to them. Then time passes. And it starts to weigh on them. And they even surprise themselves, really. They surprise themselves because suddenly they start to understand. It's like becoming aware of a blindness, right? It's like saying, wow, I didn't stop to think, because if I didn't want anything with this person in theory, why did I invest so much time? Why did I share so many things about myself? Why did they support me? Why did I? And it's there where things start to take on a different weight regarding what happened between you. It's as if the story they lived with us at that moment starts to be seen through different eyes. And what until now they could label more as a friendship, sometimes with attraction, especially if it's friends with benefits. A friendship with, well, yes, this person attracts me, but they don't have what it takes to be a partner. It's like I don't add the romantic tint to it. Well, when they lose us, the feeling of loss grants, among other things, this romantic tint. So, let's say it's the only thing missing from this story for it to make sense to view this as a relationship. That is to say, obviously, if you've opened up, if you've reached out, if we've had conversations, there's something there. You're not seeing it because you're viewing this as a friendly opening. But when I leave, I allow you that, to tint this with romanticism and for a second consider this whole story with the perspective of saying, hey, what if this were a relationship? What if this person and I were in a relationship? At least you entertain the thought, right? Now then, I have to understand that this is a process that will go through the other person, in which I cannot intervene. Because it's not about me trying to make you see what you're not seeing, right? You might think, but Amanda, if this person, I see myself reflected in the same way. Hopefully in the second case, right? In the case that this person is more open. And why? Can't I make them see, make them understand? Is it necessary for us to have to distance ourselves to separate? I'm afraid so. Because no one learns from someone else's experience. And if that person somehow feels that you are making them see it, they won't see it. They truly need to. What I think you can do on your part is, first, really stand firm. Because of course we want that romantic tint to color what has happened between you two. And for that, they have to come to feel that they are losing you. And to feel that they are losing you, tricks won't work here. That is, you have to withdraw your energy from them. You have to withdraw your attention. You have to bet on yourself and be willing to take the risk of the bet. In other words, if this has to end here, it ends. Because if you don't approach it this way, you won't get that person to experience the loss that you need them to experience, so that they change their perspective on the situation. And the good thing about this is that if you're in the first case, where you were the one giving it more weight than it had, it also helps you to start realizing and saying, wow, I think I've been fantasizing too much. It's gotten a bit out of hand. So, on your part, what you can do is take this seriously, understanding that things have, how to say it, a reason for being, because it's not that, but let's say that. If we're not together when we could be, one of us is wrong. Let's find out who, whether it's you or me. If it's me who's seeing something that's not there, or if it's you who doesn't know how to see. So I say again, you have to take it seriously. And then another thing that helps, if you want to encourage that, beyond taking it seriously and truly distancing yourself, try to do that. Divert your attention and try to get better as soon as possible. Because all of that, the moment the person starts to miss and begins to regret, it will help to continue in that direction. That is, it will reinforce the idea that they are losing you. It will reinforce the idea that they have missed an opportunity. It will reinforce the idea that maybe it's better for them to look for you sooner rather than later, because it's possible that someone who doesn't have that blindness might come into your life and take advantage of it, or might already be there. But all those fears and thoughts are more likely to occur if you, on your part, are moving forward, feeling better and putting in the effort. So, truly, it's not the time, as I always tell you, to walk away with your head down, thinking this person will never look for me. No, if you want, yes, analyze a bit what has really happened between you two, trying to be objective, if you can, and if you truly believe that something inside you says that this person and you will eventually be together, then you have even more reason not to be afraid to do this right, to step back properly and to focus on yourself during the time you are apart. Because the more you focus on yourself, the more it will benefit you. And even if you don't believe it, when this person comes, if they are meant to come and you are meant to be together, the relationship will have a better chance of succeeding. Because we are talking about starting from a point of imbalance. So it's important to regain balance. And the fact that you can prove to yourself that you are willing to take the risk of letting it be and are capable of taking a step further, moving forward, looking out for yourself and feeling better, all of that resolves the imbalance, at least within you, and reflects on the other person. That is to say, on one hand, the other person, from a distance, begins to miss you, which changes their perspective, also restoring balance. But it's also important that it is resolved within you. Because if not, if you distance yourself and this person reacts, because in the end, they do realize the love you gave them, and they do miss you, and they seek you out, and you get back together, but you haven't done your part. You are going to be with the person and it will seem too good to be true. It will point out insecurities, fears. There are many more chances that the relationship might not turn out as it should later on, for not having balanced it within yourself. So really, don't be afraid once you distance yourself to do what's right for you. Look out for yourself. The more you look out for yourself, you're also indirectly preparing for whatever might happen between you and that person in the future. Well, I hope this video is helpful to you and that you liked it. If that's the case and you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, of course, I invite you to do so. And hit the bell because I would love for us to see each other again very soon. And until then, as always, I send you a big kiss.